What's up? Welcome back to another edition of DBSN Overtime. I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter, and we're back for another week. A lot of new things today. We've got a new segment, a couple new sports, and a couple seasons came to an end, so it'll be exciting.
Yeah, sports seasons continue to be busy as the MLB postseason wraps up. The NHL and NBA season continue their start of the year. So yeah, another busy week of coverage in sports all across the world.
And a new big one, college basketball is back. But we're going to start out with NFL Week 9. So we're going to start out with the top games. We've got the Texans versus the Jets on Thursday night football. The Jets actually came out on top in this one, 21-13.
Yeah, QB battle between former Ohio State QB C.J. Stroud and veteran QB Aaron Rodgers, who many fans thought he might be kind of falling off this season, might do a little worse than he has in years past, but not a terrible season so far. Losing record, but I mean he hasn't been too bad and threw for 211 yards in this game in this win against the Texans.
Yep, he actually had 3 touchdown passes, one to his old wide receiver from the Packers, Devontae Adams, and 2 to Garrett Wilson, the Ohio State wide receiver, and one of them being an incredible catch. And here's the incredible catch.
4-man rush. Rodgers to the end zone. And Wilson, can he one-handed and stay in bounds?
It was a great play from former OSU Buckeyes player.
A little Odell, some might say.
Yeah. And now we look to the Broncos, who took on the Ravens. Broncos would fall 10-41. So pretty wide margin there for Lamar and the Ravens. They take down the Broncos.
Yep. Rookie QB Bo Nix. He threw for a good amount of yards, 223. Didn't have any touchdowns, passes, or touchdown rushes, but he did have 1 interception on the day. So a little bit of a struggle there.
Yep.
They did fly pretty much cross country, so it was a tough game for them. Lamar Jackson, he had a great game. He had 3 touchdowns with 280 yards and 0 interceptions.
Yeah, the former MVP just keeps on playing like MVP caliber type of football there. So.
Yep. And then Derrick Henry, he had a great game too. 2 touchdowns, 106 yards on the day. And wide receiver Zay Flowers of the Ravens caught 2 of those touchdown passes from Lamar.
And we turn to rookie QB Caleb Williams and the Bears, who would take on the Cardinals, and Marvin Harrison Jr., and they would fall 9-29 to the Cardinals.
Yep. A rough game there for the Bears, heading to Glendale, Arizona. Wasn't a good game for them. Caleb Williams had 217 yards on the air, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but Kyler Murray came out on top, even though he didn't have the greatest stat line there.
Yeah, interesting how sometimes football can work like that. You don't have to have the most passing yards, the most rushing yards to still win if your defense can pull it through like they did, only allowing 9 points.
Yep, Arizona did have 2 rushing touchdowns on the day as well. And then the biggest one of the day, the Lions and the Packers, divisional rivals. The Lions did come out on top as they were the away team. They won 24-14 at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, QB Jared Goff, his consistency just keeps on going. Still playing a great season for him. They're 7-1 on the year, and I mean he just kind of looks like his former self and still continuing his old ways.
Yep, Jordan Love didn't have a great game. He did come into this game injured. A little bit of speculation seeing if they were going to play him, but they did end up playing him. He threw for 273 yards, didn't get in the end zone any, but he did throw 1 interception. And then the remaining scores, the LA Rams beat the struggling Seattle Seahawks. After their strong start to the season, the Seahawks are now 1-5 in their last 6 games. And then the Vikings, after losing 2 straight, they're back in the win column after their victory over the Colts. And then the Chiefs, they're remaining unbeaten after their Monday Night Football win over the Buccaneers in overtime.
Yeah, kind of controversial overtime with the rules that are still in place for NFL OT play. A lot of times a game can be decided just based on the coin flip. So Buccaneers fans and really all fans in the NFL who aren't Chiefs fans, a little disappointed in how the coin flip kind of decided that game for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and they stay undefeated, but they still look hot. So.
Yep, and then still only remaining unbeaten past couple weeks is the Chiefs. And then big day in trades for the past couple days. To start out, running back Khalil Herbert got sent to the Bengals from the Bears. Defensive end Zadarius Smith got sent to the Lions from the hometown Browns. Wide receiver Jonathan Mingo got sent to the Cowboys from the Panthers. Marshawn Lattimore, a big one, cornerback, got sent to the Commanders. The title looked like they're trying to contend for a title here this year. From the Saints, cornerback Tre'Davious White got sent to the Ravens. Defensive end Preston Smith got sent from the Packers to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Khalil Davis of the Texans now is a 49er. Mike Williams, who used to play for the Chargers, is now a Steeler. Was at the Jets previously. And then Baron Browning, former Ohio State defensive player, is going to the Cardinals.
Busy week there in trades, definitely.
Yep.
And we transition to the week 10 preview. This Thursday, so tonight, the Bengals will take on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And Thursday Night Football, Ravens obviously still looking to stay hot, and the Bengals looking kind of turn the season around a little bit. Hasn't been too good of a start to the year. Steelers will play the Commanders. The Lions will take on the Texans, and the Eagles will take on the Cowboys.
Yep, 2 big rivalry games there too. And then the remaining week scores, we've got 4 teams on bye this week: the Browns, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks.
And now we transition to college football. Ohio State, in a big matchup this past Saturday, would take on Penn State. 2 very close seeds. This was going to be a pretty important game for the AP polls. Number 4, Ohio State took on number 3, Penn State. Ohio State would end up winning that game 20-13. After a pretty rough start to the game, through a pretty early interception, but they'd end up coming out on top.
Yep, Buckeyes were down 10-0 to 10-0 to start the day, so they really turned it around. They did not allow any points from the Penn State offense. 1 touchdown from the Penn State defense, obviously on the Will Howard pick 6, and then 2 field goals from the Penn State kicker.
Yep.
So great turnaround there for the Buckeyes. Got a goal line stand in the very final moments of the game. So that was an important part.
Yeah.
Will Howard going back to his hometown, wanted to get that win.
Yeah, had to get the
home state.
Prove the Nittany Lions wrong.
Yep. And then a big upset. Texas A&M headed to South Carolina. They got destroyed, 44-20. Number 10 goes down, and they are no longer undefeated in SEC play. So no longer any more undefeated SEC teams.
Yeah, pretty surprising game there. You got a hand to them pretty well. So
yep,
surprising one.
And then another close upset was Iowa State. They're no longer undefeated after their close loss to Texas Tech, 23-22.
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, those are the fun ones coming to the very end there, 23-22. So yeah, Iowa State, they're rolling now, 7-1.
Yep. And now to Death Valley, where number 11 Clemson, they got upset by the Louisville Cardinals, 33-21. Clemson is no longer in the top 2 of the ACC standings, so that could have some major playoff implications right there.
Yeah. And number 17 Kansas State would take on Houston, and they would end up falling 19-24.
Yep. Houston outscored Kansas State 14-0 in the 4th quarter, so
yeah,
big 4th quarter there for the Cougars.
And SMU would end up winning big over a good Pittsburgh team. They'd win 48-25.
Another one with some major playoff implications. SMU now in the top 2 of the ACC standings, so we'll see. Them and Miami are right now in the top of the ACC polls or standings, so ACC championship winner will go to the playoffs, so could be huge there. And then we've got our first CFB playoff rankings of the year. So what's going on?
So we still have number 1 Oregon sitting atop the playoff polls there. Ohio spot in Georgia. They switch spots. Ohio State coming to number 2, and Georgia falls down to number 3. And Miami sitting in at number 4 as their QB and their team continues to roll ahead with a great season.
Yep. And then as the playoff picture, as the season's coming to a close here soon, with the new updated format, 12 teams will make it. 4 major conference winners will get a bye. So right now that's looking like number 9 BYU, then number 1 Oregon, 4 Miami, and 3 Georgia. And then the next 8, we've got Ohio State, number 5 Texas, number 6 Penn State, 7 Tennessee, 8 Indiana, who's looking pretty strong, number 10 Notre Dame, who after that Northern Illinois loss has creeped back up. and then number 11, Alabama. And then we also get a group of 5 school to automatically qualify in the playoffs, which is right now number 12, Boise State.
Yeah, and as the college football playoffs get closer and closer, also the Heisman rankings continue to increase as Travis Hunter has continued to increase his stock, playing both sides of the football as a cornerback and a wide receiver. He currently sits atop the polls with a plus 185 chance for the Heisman.
Yep. And then tied with him actually is QB Cam Ward of Miami. And then following him is the Oregon QB Dylan Gabriel with plus 350. And then the national championship odds stayed relatively the same since last week. Ohio State and Georgia have now switched after Georgia's struggle to Florida, and then Ohio State's win against the Penn State Nittany Lions.
And Oregon follows closely behind them with plus 450 odds.
Yep. And then week 11, big week for some SEC teams.
Yeah.
We start out with number 3 Georgia and number 16 Ole Miss. Georgia has previously lost to Alabama, but they did beat Texas, and Ole Miss lost to Kentucky and LSU. So who do you have for this one?
I have to go with the big name Georgia, coming in at 7-1 on the year. Yeah, I think they'll continue their winning ways.
I have to agree with that one. And then Colorado, Deion Sanders got his team to top 20. So they take on Texas Tech, who just came off of an upset of Iowa State. Who do you have for this one?
I think Travis Hunter and Colorado will do it. I think they're coached really well. I think they'll find a way to come out on top.
Yep, they need to win if they want to make the CFP playoffs.
Yeah.
They've still got a chance. So, and then South Carolina versus Vanderbilt. South Carolina and Vanderbilt both coming off some surprising seasons. South Carolina got that big upset last week, and Vandy's beaten some pretty big names like Alabama. So
I think South Carolina will continue their momentum. I think they'll get another win against Vanderbilt this week.
I'm going to have to go with the other one. I'm going to go with Vanderbilt just because they're the home team and looking pretty strong. Only a team not ranked in the CFB playoff rankings that is ranked in the AP Top 25. So I'm going to go with Vanderbilt.
Should be a good one either way.
Yep.
And number 11, Alabama will take on number 15, LSU. Alabama lost to the aforementioned Vanderbilt team, and they also lost to Tennessee, but they ended up beating Georgia in a big game previously in the year. So who do you have?
I'm going to go with LSU because LSU is the home team, and Alabama, they've struggled away this year. They've lost to Vanderbilt on the road and Tennessee on the road. So I'm going to go with LSU today. Yeah,
that'll be a big one, but I think I still got to go with Alabama. Obviously, a pretty storied program there. I think they'll find a way to turn it around on the road. I think they'll have the hope to be able to finally get a win on the road. So yeah, I'll go with Alabama.
All right. And then we're gonna send it to our weekly segment with John of Worldwide Wacky Sports with unicycle basketball.
Unicycle basketball is exactly what it sounds like. Basketball played on unicycles. It's a fast-paced sport where players ride unicycles while dribbling, passing, and shooting the ball, just like in traditional basketball. The sport originated in the late 1980s, combining the thrill of unicycling with the excitement of basketball. It was popularized by enthusiasts looking to add a unique twist to both activities.
And thank you, John. With that, it looks pretty fun. I can not want to do that.
That was an
That'd
interesting
be
one.
Very difficult just to ride a unicycle.
Yeah.
So we've got college basketball back as it has started last Tuesday. First day was pretty crazy. Number 6 Gonzaga hosted the number 8 Baylor Bears. Surprising, but it was 101-63. Gonzaga came out on top in Spokane. Baylor looks to bounce back against number 16 Arkansas, and then Gonzaga, they were led by senior Nolan Hickman who had 17 points on the day.
And in other basketball news, Texas A&M took on UCF, and that was a close one. The game would end up being decided by 3 points. Texas A&M would end up falling 61-64.
Yep, another first court storming of the season, so exciting for UCF there. And then Ohio State, they got a big win in Las Vegas against the number 19 ranked Texas Longhorns, 80-72. Big game there for Jake Diebler with his new team, his first season as a head coach. Guard Bruce Thornton scored 20 points on the day. And then freshman guard for Texas, Trey Johnson, who looks like one of the top players in that freshman class, had 29.
Yeah, big game. Should be a fun season for Ohio State basketball.
Yep.
And we turn to the top freshman incomers for NCAA basketball. Big name, especially for the NIL deals. Cooper Flagg out of Duke. He's been a big get for Duke. Pretty popular among basketball fans. Rutgers has freshman Ace Bailey as well as Dylan Harper. So they should both help Rutgers. And Texas got Trey Johnson.
Yep. And then overall players, we've got Cooper Flagg and Duke, R.J. Davis from North Carolina, Mark Sears of Alabama, Hunter Dickinson of Kansas, and Johnny Broom of Auburn. And then we're going to turn to the NHL news here.
Yeah, as we transition to NHL news, big news last night as Connor McDavid was back after missing 3 games from an ankle sprain he suffered against Columbus just last week. He was expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks, so fans were happy to see him back on the ice. They'd end up falling in that game. He would not collect a point, but just happy to see him back on the ice for the MVP favorite. The Winnipeg Jets still sit atop the NHL league standings. They're the only team still in the NHL with less than 3 losses as they sit at 12-1 on the year. Obviously, they got last season's Vezina winner Connor Hellebuyck in net for them. He's just been stymieing to all team offenses there. They also have players like Mark Scheifele, as well as Kyle Connor has been lighting up the NHL right now. He's been leading the league in points and goals for some time. And in Columbus news, the Jackets sit at 500 on the season. So relatively compared to some of the last starts they've had previous years, pretty good start to the year with them. Improved goaltending and defense has definitely helped this, as starter Elvis Merzlikins has above a 900 save percentage for the first time for the past 3 years currently. Obviously still pretty early in the season, but some good things to look forward to for Blue Jackets fans.
Yep. And then we're going to turn it to our news segment of This Week in Sports with Alex.
This Week in Sports, November 6th. On November 6th, 1869, the very first college football game was played. The game was played between Rutgers and Princeton, which saw Rutgers win 6-4. The game loosely represented what it is like today, playing on a 120-yard field and with a soccer ball. But the athletes at Rutgers and Princeton paved the way for the sport that we have today.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Exciting to have a new segment again. And then we're going to switch to the NBA. We're going to start out with our scores and our top of the standings. Cleveland Cavs, they're atop the standings right now. They are 9-0. Coach Kenny Atkinson set an NBA record for the best start to a season of a coach with a new team at 9-0. And then Boston Celtics, the former champions, are 7-2. They lost to the Golden State Warriors last night, 112-118. And then in the West, we've got a 3-way tie between OKC, Phoenix Suns, and the Golden State Warriors. All of them are 7-1. And then right now, some surprises is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers in the East. They're both 1-6. And the Bucks, they've got Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is second in the league with scoring. And then Anthony Davis of the Lakers leads the league with 32.6 points per game. And then we're going to transition to the MLS as well, which the playoffs are starting. First round is almost done. We've got a couple teams that have moved on, which include the LA Galaxy, Minnesota United, New York Red Bulls, and Seattle Sounders.
Yep, and the LAFC and Vancouver Whitecaps are currently tied in their series 1-1, as well as the FC Cincinnati and New York City FC, Orlando City SC, and Charlotte FC as well. Inter Miami CF and Atlanta United FC are also tied 1-1. So lots of close matchups there in the MLS postseason.
Yep, and we're going to send it to Ian with our Ohio Sports Roundup.
Thanks, guys. This week in Ohio sports, we got the Cincinnati Bengals facing the Ravens in Baltimore tonight at 8:15 on Thursday Night Football, as the Bengals look to win back-to-back games. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns have a bye this week. Yesterday, the Cleveland Cavs defeated the New Orleans Pelicans 131-122, continuing their unbeaten start to the season. The Cavs host the Warriors tomorrow at 7:30 and then host the Nets on Saturday at the same time. Also on Saturday, the Columbus Blue Jackets take on the Kings at 7:30 and then head to Anaheim to take on the Ducks on Sunday at 8. Looking to gain momentum after a big win over Penn State last week, the Ohio State Buckeyes host struggling Purdue on Saturday at 12 on Fox. As the guys covered earlier, Ohio State men's basketball won their first game and take on Youngstown State on Monday. The women's team also won their first game of the year. That's it for this week's Ohio Sports Roundup. This has been Ian Miller. Now, back to Eli and JD.
Another edition of Ohio Sports Roundup. And thank you for watching. I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter, and we'll see you guys back next week on Thursday.